6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Malavarachi and read by Lavani Vichetunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. The President says that parliamentary elections will be held next year. The local government polls will be conducted in early 2025. A new constitution for the UNP will be implemented from January next year. The government says that the agreement entered into with the IMF will expedite the debt restructuring process. The GC ordinary level examination results will be out by the 25th of November. The 78th United Nations Day celebrations will be held in Colombo today. In news overseas, Arab leaders reject forced displacement of Palestinians. And in sports news, Sri Lanka records the first win in the World Cup against the Netherlands. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the local news. UNP leader President Ranil Wickremesinghe highlighted his vision of transforming Sri Lanka into a technologically advanced smart nation and elevating its economy to new heights as a special United National Party convention at the Sukadasa Indoor Stadium yesterday. President Wickremesinghe introduced party reforms for approval from the participants of the special convention. The party's convention was themed A Smart Country. He said the new UNP's organizational reforms allow the creation of online party organization, which means one could create social media platforms and act through them. This is envisioned for the party's future, which should go alongside the rapidly digitalizing world. He asked the members to convey their proposals and ideas to the General Secretary of the UNP to transform the UNP into Sri Lanka's first smart political party. President Wickremesinghe said that in accordance with the Constitution, the presidential election is scheduled for next year, followed by the parliamentary election and the provincial council election early 2025. He said the new reforms will be enforced from the 1st of January, creating a self-governing digitalized political party. State Minister of Finance Shihan Semasinghe said that the agreement entered into with the IMF and the staff-level agreement reached following the first review of Sri Lanka's extended fund facility arrangement will support to settle arrears owed to multilateral creditors while expediting the debt restructuring process. Addressing a press conference at the Presidential Media Center, he said that Sri Lanka is poised to receive the second tranche of $330 million subsequent to the approval of the staff-level agreement by the IMF Executive Board. He added that Sri Lanka has successfully reached the staff-level agreement last week, a crucial step in securing the second tranche under the agreement with the IMF through the extended fund facility. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Cherished companion of microfinance banking, Samurdhi Community Bank.
And we continue with more local news. The Examinations Department says that the results of the GCE ordinary level examination for the year 2022 will probably be out by mid-November. Examinations Commissioner General Amit Jayasundara said that the Examination Department is engaged in a process of issuing the results by now, and the data entering process is going on. It will take a few weeks and the results will probably be issued by the 25th of November. The GC ordinary level examinations for the year 2022-23 was held countrywide from the 29th of May to the 8th of June with the participation of about 460,000 candidates. The 78th United Nations Day celebrations, organized by the United Nations Association of Sri Lanka, will be held at the Sri Lanka Medical Association Auditorium, Vijayarama Mawatha, Colombo 7 at 3 p.m. today under the patronage of the President of the Association, M.M. Zuwahir. Former Ambassador of Kuwait and past President of the United Nations Associations, SACM Zuhail will be the chief guest, and former ambassador and the permanent representative to the UN in Vienna, Dr. Dante Laksiri Mendes, will be the guest of honor. Parliamentarians, diplomatic corps, teachers and students of the UN Study Circle and the UNA members are expected to be present. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. The president says that the parliamentary elections will be held next year. The local government polls will be conducted in early 2025. A new constitution for the UMP will be implemented from January next year. The government says the agreement entered into with the IMF will expedite the debt restructuring process. The GCE ordinary level examination results will be out by the 25th of November. The 78th United Nations Day celebrations will be held in Colombo today. And that was the local news.
Your closest ally in microfinance banking. The front runner in uplifting low-income households, extending a hand to those aspiring to thrive. Your very own financial institution, Samurdhi Community Bank, with a presence of 1,089 branches throughout the island. Your closest ally in microfinance banking. Your steadfast financial partner, Samurdhi Community Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera has instructed the small-scale agricultural entrepreneurship participation program under his ministry to provide facilities for the cultivation of maize in 3 districts this Maha season. Accordingly, the free distribution of hybrid maize seeds required for the cultivation of 40,000 acres of maize in the Hambantota, Anuradhapura and Munragala districts began yesterday. Production of meat, eggs and milk was hampered and the prices of these products went up last year due to the lack of maize required for animal feed. Considering this situation, the Agriculture Ministry has decided to expand the maize cultivation to increase the production of animal feed needed to increase animal production in Sri Lanka. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight this morning, the daily pricing formula for fuel is set to be introduced in Sri Lanka in February 2024. Accordingly, as per the new system, fuel prices will be decided on a daily basis, State Minister of Power and Energy D.V. Chanaka stated. That came to you in Watchlight, and now let's move on to the headlines of the world news. Arab leaders reject forced displacement of Palestinians. Pro-Palestinian protest takes place across the UK. India launches the first flight ahead of sending man into space. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the world news. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has said he rejects the forced displacement of Palestinians into the Sinai Peninsula as the first aid convoy entered Gaza after 2 weeks of war. Speaking at a summit in Cairo, Mr. Sisi said the only solution was an independent state for Palestinians. The summit began as 20 trucks carrying aid crossed Rafah border. However, humanitarian organizations have warned it will not be enough to address the need. About 500 trucks a day had been entering Gaza before the war started. Some 1.2 million people living in the territory already relied on food aid, the UN says. Thousands of people are taking part in a pro-Palestinian protest in London for the second consecutive weekend. The Met Police estimated up to 100,000 people had joined the march, which was due to end in a rally near Downing Street. Smaller demos have taken place in Birmingham, Cardiff and Salford. It comes as the first aid deliveries have reached Gaza since Israel imposed a blockade after a Hamas attack on the 7th of October killed 1,400 people in Israel. India's space agency has carried out the first in a series of test flights ahead of its planned mission to take astronauts into space in the year 2025. Gaganyaan spacecraft was launched yesterday from Sriharikota. This was the day's second attempt. The first was put on hold for 5 seconds before the scheduled launch time. The test was conducted to demonstrate whether the crew could safely escape a rocket in case it malfunctioned. And that was the world news.
Development News.
Iranian ambassador in Colombo, Hazem Abdelrasa, says that Uma Oya hydropower project can be commissioned in the latter part of this year. The envoy told Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena recently that the project has been completed, and after testing of the reservoir and 2 generators of 60 megawatts each, it could be commissioned later this year. That was the development news.
Sports News is brought to you by Shark Tea. Refresh your mind and body with Shark Tea Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shark Tea. Taste the power.
Moving on to sports news, composed half centuries from top-order batsman Sadira Samaravikrama and opener Pathum Nissanka helped Sri Lanka cruise to a 5-wicket victory against the Netherlands in their World Cup match in Lucknow yesterday. This is Sri Lanka's first win in the tournament after having lost their 3 previous games. Samaravikrama made an unbeaten 91 off 107 balls, while Nissanka scored a 52 from 54 balls. Earlier, Sybert Engelberg and Logan van Beek hit maiden one-day international 50s as the Netherlands recovered from a poor start to post 262. Meanwhile, South Africa beat England by 229 runs in the other World Cup 2023 in Mumbai yesterday. South Africa batting first piled a massive 399 for the loss of 7 wickets in 50 overs, whereas England could only manage 170 for the loss of 9 wickets in 22 overs as Reece Topley did not walk out to bat due to the injury. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Shark Tea. Refresh your mind and body with Shark Tea Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shark Tea. Taste the power.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life ekේ change eකට niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth eකට niyamata set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM. A plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
In business news, Indian airline Indigo has announced the introduction of a new direct flight between Hyderabad and Colombo from the 2nd of November this year. This is the first Indian carrier to provide direct connectivity between the two cities, reinforcing trade, economic and cultural ties. The move is part of Indigo's strategic expansion in international markets, providing customers with seamless and efficient connectivity. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life ekේ change eකට niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth eකට niyamata set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM. A plan for your dream.
In economic news, Sri Lanka's State Enterprise Reform Unit has issued a request for qualification to select prospective investors who will be given the chance to purchase a 51.34% stake in Lanka Hospitals Corporation. Investors have to submit proposals by the 21st of November and the proposals will be opened on the same day. Those who meet the qualifying criteria will be selected by the end of November. That is the economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Weather report.
And finally, the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur over most parts of the island after 1 p.m. Showers or thunder showers may occur in the western, southern, northern and north central provinces during the morning hours too. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, Uva, central, eastern and the southern provinces. And before we conclude this bulletin, let's get back to the headlines once again. The President says that the parliamentary elections will be held next year. The local government polls will be conducted in early 2025. A new constitution for the UNP will be implemented from January next year. The government says the agreement entered into with the IMF will expedite the debt restructuring process. The GC ordinary level examination results will be out by the 25th of November. The 78th United Nations Day celebrations will be held in Colombo today. In news overseas, Arab leaders reject forced displacement of Palestinians. And in sports news, Sri Lanka records the first win in the World Cup against the Netherlands. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news. Now it's back to your Sunday morning host who is sitting in today, Chagi Dabre, to brighten up your day.